and she will give us all the information about what they want to do with our tax dollars.
It's just great to see you all tonight, and I was thinking when I was on my way out here tonight how we've all gotten to be friends over the years. I know I joined the BCRAC, I guess it's going on 4 years ago, and been a Republican all my life. You know, it's great that through issues we can really start to come together, and certainly this issue is one that brings people from all walks of life together over common sense. I just want to start out so I don't forget, we brought a gift for everybody tonight from South Pinellas 912 that has nothing to do with no tax for tracks, other than we are the ones that have been kind of investigating this for a few years. And we have a pocket constitution for everyone tonight, and these two ladies here are going to hand them out, and on the back is our website. So we would love to have you get on our website and to become a part, and you can follow a lot of the nuisance that we are in this county. We're kind of chasing a lot of things that we think are problematic. So, girls, if you want to go ahead, and I'll move on. Another thing I want to mention, just so I don't forget, is that if you are interested tonight, we put these over here, and I just don't want to forget to mention them. We do have yard signs tonight, and we are happy to take donations to help pay for things like that. So please feel free to grab a yard sign for your yard tonight. If after the presentation you feel so moved. You know, Hillsborough had this referendum in 2010, and they voted it down by, I think it was like 62%, and so it was a pretty resounding defeat over there. And that was a 1% sales tax increase to pay for a light rail system, and the voters in Hillsborough just said no. And ever since then, all of the people in the Tampa Bay area that are a part of this rail advocacy have said, well, that's just because they didn't know enough. You know, those people just weren't smart enough, they didn't have enough information, those voters didn't really understand what we were talking about here, so they decided to come over to Pinellas County and to start pushing this side of the bay with the light rail. And it started about, when that stopped 3 years ago, Sully and I and several of us that were here, who attended those first meetings? Then we got involved with what was called the alternative analysis. Doreen, you were there. And back in January 2011, the first meeting was actually December of 2010 in Pinellas County. So that's, 3 years ago. And I was saying, you know, it was like a soap opera. We got going to Sully and I especially, started going to all the PSTA meetings. And for these 3 years, we have really been there. We have attended PSTA meetings, we've attended committee meetings, they have spawned out all these committees, we've done that. Sully has recorded, videotape, we have 300 videos on our YouTube. We know that library, we know who said what and what tape, and we're able to go back and extract things, and that's why we have the truth. We have the truth. And so for them to be able to then take this campaign and try to start, you know, a campaign, the truth is in those YouTube videos. And their truth is also in these PowerPoint presentations that we have sat and watched for 3 years. And that because they are sunshined and they have to be posted on the website, listen how smart I sound, right? Because I've learned all this stuff, and that is that I have learned how I can go on their website and I can capture those slideshows, and I can take the slides that I want, and you're going to see some of their very own slideshows, or some of their very own slides. We started with No Tax for Tracks, and one of our members designed this logo. This logo has just really been a terrible pain in the neck to the rail advocates because it's so effective. So the other thing that I was going to mention before we get started into this is that the plague that has affected our federal government is now spreading out throughout all of the country to the regions. They like the word regions, and to the counties. And different, you know, Obamacare is being used on the federal level to basically get control and to also create this huge cash cow Now, we have to understand, in my opinion, that what we're seeing here is another ability on the local level through this 1% sales tax to fund a huge movement and use an excuse like Obamacare, for example. So I just want to set the stage a little bit there. The other thing I wanted to say, I said this last night and it went over so well, I thought, well, I'm going to say that every night. And that was, or I guess it was Monday night, I said that about a year ago, a friend of mine that's in our group said that she worked at Sears when she was in the 70s, back in the 1970s, and she was in Philadelphia, worked at the Sears store downtown. And she said that the biggest theft that ever occurred at Sears occurred right there at that store when she was working there. And two men apparently walked into the Sears store, went down the stairs into the sporting goods department, picked up like a 10-foot canoe, hoisted it over their heads, walked right across the sporting goods department, up the stairs, through the menswear, out to the street, and they were gone. No one even stopped them because it was so bold. What did everybody probably think?
They bought it.
That they bought it. Because if you have something that brazen, you don't even see it. So I just want you to keep that in mind because I think we have something pretty brazen going on. Here's our public bus system. Have you noticed how dark the windows are?
Yes. So you can't see nobody's in it.
Does it look like a canoe? Look, we have a fine public bus system. There's no doubt about it. It's something that we can be very proud of. And in fact, it's more than we need. And that's what we're talking about because PSTA is at a crossroad right now. By the way, I should say this. This is a paid political advertisement paid for by No Tax for Tracks. And I want to show this to you so that we're perfectly legal here. This I include in our slideshow, and we're not going to dwell down into this. This is one of the PSTA slides, and what I want to do is I want to show you this red bar. And this red bar, down at the bottom, is 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here it is to 2011, where that black line is. And the red bar represents our property values and what happened over those years. Back here in 2002, our houses, all of us, basically this is just a picture of what happened as property values started to escalate artificially, really, didn't they? And up here, didn't we all think we were rich? I mean, come on, we all thought we were rich. And guess what? So did every municipality and government agency that were operating on ad valorem. They thought they were rich. They didn't think it was ever going to end. And this is what has gotten a lot of, and I'm sure Leslie can back me up, this is what's gotten a lot of things like PSTA into trouble. Because their spending just went right up because they thought it was just going to go on. But what happened here in 2007 is that red line started going down as did the taxes from the ad valorem that was going in. And here in 2012, PSTA had said that they were going to lose $5.7 million. And so they passed a 30% increase in the ad valorem tax on those of us that have homes. However, during that time, and you know what, I never even knew this place existed. This is the PSTA building, and before this, they had a little, not a little, but they had a place up on 49th Street, up by the jail. And in 2005, just as that thing was going like that, right, they decided that they needed to double their space, double their expenses, and expand all their bus lines and build this huge, big complex. It's a huge campus. How many of you have ever even seen it? Where is it? Yeah. See, where is it? Well, it's kind of like a canoe. I mean, this thing is huge. It is a beautiful thing. There's no question about it. But it is kind of out by the dump, out in the country type of thing. And you need to go look it up. It's on 34th. It's kind of down by the Marriott, off of Roosevelt. Yeah, it's off 34th off of Roosevelt. It's a fantastic facility. This is another chart that really dwells down on how the ad valorem property tax in 2007, here we're starting with 2007, and they were at $38 million in ad valorem, and then as the year started to go down, again, it shows you the drop in their revenue. Now, they have other sources of revenue. They have state and federal grants, they have advertising dollars, but we're talking tonight about tax. And so our tax from Pinellas County residents that help to fund PSTA, which is about 60% of their income, goes down to $26 million in 2011, and then here's where they passed a 30% tax increase on the ad valorem, bumped it back up to 38 million, and that's where it stands. So they raise the taxes on our homes, still they continue to outspend their income. And this is, again, another PSTA chart, PowerPoint. This shows in 2002 through 2012, you can see that the spending, here's where they built the building, right in here. And, you know, and it continued to go up, so, you know, there it kept going. And then the bottom drops out and everything. And they didn't do this, but they stalled out. And you would think, I don't know about you, but it's still kind of tight at my house. Here it is 2012, and now it's starting to go back up again. Right? Do you know what this, by the way, these are unaltered slides. Unaltered. Do you know what this yellow line is? That's where they're assuming you're going to pass the tax increase and bail them out. The blue line on this very same slide shows you the spending that they were doing, what they were doing during this period in adding buses and more lines. So what does a bus agency do to spend money besides build a new building? Is that they hire drivers, they buy buses, they build, you know, they start more lines. And so these are, this is how it grew. And again, I say, have you noticed the empty buses? It's very difficult to even see through the windows, isn't it? I know you guys have got to know what I'm talking about. You know, sometimes, I mean, I'm so curious about it all the time that I have found that if you have the sun behind you, behind the bus, you know, you can kind of see that there's really maybe a couple of people in there. And by the way, you're looking at a $700,000 bus there. As a part of the preparation for trying to get into the, I'll take questions afterwards. Is that okay?
Oh, I was just going to say.
Go ahead.
I saw a bus on 49 on the way here when it's dark and the buses lit up.
Yeah.
There were 6 people on it.
We saw them Monday night, and how many were in there, Brent?
Nobody. There was 4 buses went by and there was nobody in them on the golf course.
4 buses, not one person, with the lights on after dark.
I can start cutting.
As a part of this process that they have to go through to get to the grant money, the federal grant money, this summer they had to do a bus study. And finally, you know, of course, in the 3 years we've been going to the meetings, you keep thinking, what is the real truth? You know, what is the real truth about ridership? What's the real truth about buses? And so this got presented this year because they had to do a bus study, and it was the first time, I'm told, that they did a bus study in 20 years. So they continue to add the buses and add routes, and they didn't even really know if they had any need. I actually have it on tape of one of the members of the PSTA board that said, you know, we got to just get away from, we just can't afford to do this anymore. We have to get away from just adding a route because somebody's aunt needs a ride. True story. We have it on tape. The fact is that this bus study came out. This shows the 40 routes of PSTA. Again, unaltered. This is their slide. It was presented by the bus study people. And they're talking here about the top local routes account for 46% of the ridership. So these gray lines are buses. These blue lines are the trolleys. And the 2 little teeny lines here are the ones that go across to Tampa that everybody hears so much about. 147 people a day use the ride across to Tampa, and for this we're talking about $1 billion bridge. So this is Central Avenue trolley, this is the St. Pete trolley, the other trolleys you can see do nothing. Look at this. Their own bus study said the top 5 local routes right here account for 46% of the entire system ridership. The PSTA trolleys over here account for 13%, so combined, it counts for 60% of their ridership out of 40. You have 20% of the routes doing 80% of the ridership. PSDA CO Brad Miller is warning the public, with the help of people like Commissioner Welch and a lot of the commissioners, that if a new sustainable funding source is not found, PSDA services will have to be cut by 30% by 2016. Because PSTA is at their millage cap. Now, someone challenged me on that the other night, and I said, you're right, they're not technically at their millage cap, because when they did that increase back in 2012, it was at 0.56 millage. So when they needed that more money, by statute, they can do 0.75. They bumped it up to 0.73, not up to 0.75, because I said, why is that? Because they don't want the newspaper saying that they are what? Capped out?
Maxed out.
Yeah, so they're at they still have room, So they went to 0.7305,
Oh.
and they are at their millage cap, and as Miller says, they must find a new revenue source or downsize. And PSTA is definitely at a crossroad, and they have, of course, devised this campaign. They used $300,000 of our money this year to hire Tucker Hall out of Tampa to devise a marketing campaign to put a happy face on a huge, massive tax increase. And they're calling it Green Light Pinellas. It's really cute. It's a nice, cheerful color. And here's the big idea. The big idea is light rail. Okay? Now, let's start out by being sure that we understand the difference between high-speed rail and light rail, because a lot of people think that we're going to have some kind of a train zipping through the county. High-speed rail right here is Euro-style rail. It goes 155 miles per hour. And this is what's proposed for Pinellas County, which is basically streetcars. And this year, the average speed on this is 20 miles per hour. They're usually less than 3 cars, so that they don't block an intersection on a city block. They take up oftentimes a lane out of existing traffic, so prepare yourself for that in some parts of the county. They're proposing a 24-mile route with 16 stops. So if you get on in downtown St. Pete, 16 stops later, you're going to be in Clearwater.
How many hours is that going to take?
They're saying 57 minutes. They didn't want to say an hour. It's on the website. I'm telling you the truth, 57 minutes. But in order to make this happen, Pinellas voters must approve a massive 14% tax increase, raising our sales tax from 7 to 8%. So it's in your hands. It's in your hands if we can be convinced to say yes. And here's the math. The real estate property tax now, as I already said, is $32 million a year. The 1 cent sales tax increase will equal $130 million a year. How do we know that? That's what Penny for Pinellas is generating.
But it did.
We already did this once. Okay? The PSDA will get an additional $100 million per year to spend. But the taxpayers are going to get the highest sales tax in the state, construction for 10 years, more clogged roads, and liability for cost overruns and failed projections. And I got to tell you, cost overruns and failed projections is what this kind of a project's all about. These mega projects, and they did what they called a stress test. They made a big deal here just about 6 weeks ago talking about, oh, we've checked the numbers. We've checked the numbers. We were there. We have it on tape. They ran a cost overrun at 10% and 15%. The average cost overruns on these are like 40 to 50%. 40 to 50%. They're projecting $1.8 billion to build it. Okay? Now you might say, well, how's that figured? Well, first of all, they're calling it a tax swap. They're telling everyone, and I don't know whether you've heard it, that they're going to have sales tax to replace the property tax. And it's an attempt to grant a $100 million tax increase as a swap. $130 million for $32 million is not a swap. You know, I actually looked the word swap up because I was kind of like confused. Yeah. And this revenue neutral is a swap. You know, I tried to figure it up that if they wanted to get off of ad valorem property tax and just get on sales tax and do a swap, then it would be like 0.3, you know, sales tax. So we might have 7.3% that we would pay on purchases. A 1 cent sales tax is easy, it's kind of an easy thing to sell because people say, well, I don't really mind another penny. People just, a lot of times they don't really understand or think about the significance of it. Because the significance of it, let's say for instance that I was making $100,000 a year doing my job, and I wanted to buy $1 million house. And I didn't really have any other bills. And so I went to the mortgage company because I had $200,000 to put down or whatever. And I went to the mortgage company and I had $100,000 income less taxes and I had maybe a little small car payment. They're going to look at my debt ratio and see if I have enough discretionary income to make that mortgage payment, right? Okay, so keep that thought in mind because what this does is this is creating a $130 million tax flow, income flow, to PSTA, actually first through the county commission and then to PSTA, that they can then go to the bond market and bond the money to build this for $2 billion and to get federal grants. So this $130 million is like their income. You see how that works? So by using the $130 million revenue from the sales tax as income, they will seek to further mortgage us to the federal government and bondholders for the billions it will take to build this mega project. This is huge for us to understand because you know what? If it fails, we're on the hook. And these people could easily be gone. Well, they will be gone because that's just the nature of politics, that people come and they go. So the decisions that are being made today, 10 years from now, they don't have to live with. That's why it's important for us as citizens to understand what we're getting into here. This is another, I feel like, very deceptive thing that's been going on, and I've challenged this and they will not stop it, and that is this map. This map, many people think, includes a rail link to Tampa, and in fact, even the media got confused, and both Yolanda Fernandez and Chris O'Donnell with the Tribune reported the day after the tax revenue, the sales tax referendum passed about 6 weeks ago at the county commission. The next day, they both reported that there was a rail link to Tampa. I called them both and talked to both of them, and this confused them. This is not a part of nothing. They will not take that off of that map because they want people to be confused. I'm sorry, but I'll say it right to them because I've tried to get them to take it off. The rail line is this, right here. It doesn't go there. So the 1 penny green light Pinellas plan, it may be that they wish and hope and they plan and they hope it happens someday, maybe somebody, the FDOT or somebody will put a bridge in, and then when you get over there, what's it going to go to? Hillsborough, you'll vote it down. But what they're hoping is, of course, is that if we will pass this and they can get the momentum going and go back over to Hillsborough and put it back on over there and try to get it through. Now, in all fairness, another thing that they're saying, and I know you probably have heard this, and you'll probably appreciate this maybe at this point of the presentation, is that it's really not just about rail, they're going to get more buses. You want more buses? Do we need more buses? I don't think we need more buses. Because, again, as I say, this is just not a part of the plan. Also in the Green Line plan is bus rapid transit. Bus rapid transit can be a very good thing. In fact, over in Hillsborough, when they defeated the light rail over there, they took the very same route that they had proposed for the rail in Hart, which is PSTA's counterpart over there. Hart put in a bus rapid transit on that same route, and it's been quite successful because there's 2 ways that you can do a BRT. One is dedicated lanes that takes from the cars. So if there's 3 lanes, the bus rapid transit that has very limited stops, that's their lane. They get the lane out of the street. Or the second kind is shared lanes where you share with the cars, and that's what they're doing in Tampa, where this bus driver now can push a button and it makes the lights turn green, so you can actually draft the bus and sit right across town. And they're doing it. I mean, people are trying to find the BRTs and they're drafting the buses over in Tampa. It's just the truth, folks. And so there's 2 kinds of lanes, but the problem is that the New Start program, which is the federal government, the only one that they'll loan, or not loan on, but they'll grant on, is dedicated lanes. So you can go right on Green Light Pinellas' website, and you will see this picture. picture. That's where I got it. I got it off of their website. And you can see that this is their exact slide. And it says, part of the green light plan is rapid corridors. Major arterials of the transit network create BRT and rapid corridors on the core network, connects major employment activity centers across the county. What does this say? This is 4th Street.
It's already too late.
It's 4th Street. Yeah, exactly. This is like a Photoshop 4th Street. Okay? And there you can see that big Modocker coming down 4th Street. And what does that say right there? Bus only. I live off of 4th Street.
No parking.
It's already busy enough on 4th Street
And then
without.
the dividers going in.
Well, that's right. That's right. No, they'll have to take that back out.
Oh, they have to take out.
They'll take out the divider, but this is the truth. This is what's on their website. But let me make you even more happy, because here are all of the roads that are in the current plan. Again, this is from their site. So there are not just 4th Street. There are 6 BRT and rapid bus service planned for PSPA's highest volume, most productive corridors. Their words, not mine. This is their slide. So they have picked out the 6 busiest corridors in the county, and they're going to put BRTs in there. Phase 1, Central Avenue, 49th Street, East Bay, Gulf to Bay. They're going to do the environment and engineering in 2016, the capital procurement and install in 2017, and open the service in 2018. Second phase, 4th Street, Homerton Road, US 19, Seminole Boulevard. We have just been living through US 19. How many years?
20.
Environment and engineering in 17-19, procurement 2020, and service opens in 2019-2021. So we're going to be sharing with trains, and we're going to be sharing with buses, taking away from our cars. Now they promote, I'm going to change the topic here a little bit, they promote the message, and I'm sure you all have heard how many people ride. Have you heard of all the people, the record ridership? I mean, have you heard this? And this was like very interesting to me. This is about like a year and a half ago they started. Well, actually, I'll tell you when it was. It was when Tucker Hall came on the scene. And when Tucker Hall came on the scene, all of a sudden we started hearing, I think Tucker Hall said, tell everybody there's 1 million people a month on the buses. And so they started telling everybody that. And this is a media alert from PSTA. Right here it says, May 2013, they had a record month of 1.2 million riders in May. It says, let me say, 1.2 million rides in May. 1.2 million rides. And I thought, how could that be possible? There's only 900,000 people that live in Pinellas County, and I don't know anybody that rides a bus. Where are all of these people? You know, and when I see the buses and they're empty, it's like, you know, this just is crazy. Don't worry about it, Gail, you're back. Just forget that. He'll get it. And, you know, so, you know, again, you know, do you believe what you see, or should you believe what you hear? You know, it's very hard. So one day I was at a PSTA meeting, and there was an elderly lady, and she would always go up, and she would have her 3-minute public comment, and she would complain about things. She was a big bus rider. And so one day I'm just sitting there, and like it's public comment time, and so I'm just sitting there looking at my emails or whatever. I wasn't paying much attention, and she went up and she started her talk, and she was complaining about bus number 10 was late on Tuesday or whatever. And she says, and I have to take 3 transfers to get to the mall, and I have to take 3 to get back home. And I went, 6 rides. 6 rides. So Sully and I went to a meeting with his camera, and I asked Mr. Miller, and we have it on tape. I asked Mr. Miller, I said, you know, I went to this meeting, and she said that she had all these transfers. Is that 6 rides? And he said, yeah. And I said, so theoretically, the more you would break up a route, the higher the ridership, right? He said, yeah. Are you thinking canoes about now? Okay, so here's the truth. And Jim, who's sitting here in the back of the room, he found this information not too long ago. And this comes from our 2010 census, the U.S. Census. And of course, everybody in the county is asked, you know, everybody in the country is asked a certain list of questions. And so this is real raw data. This is, this is really good data that comes from people who are surveyed or census taken. We pulled 2 questions. And that is number 1. People were asked, commuting to work, what percent of you use public transportation, which would be the buses? And the answer was, in Pinellas County, 1.6%. The second question, how much time does it take you to get to work on the average? And the answer was 23 minutes. Where is the problem, folks? Do we have a problem?
No.
I mean, that looks pretty good. We have no need. We have no need, no matter how they try to manufacture the need and create all of this vision. Because what we want to do, we want to save the bus system for those that depend on public transportation. This woman and her children were in the paper last year when it was cold like it was today, and that was in the paper the next morning. And I thought to myself, we have to keep these people in mind because this is exactly what we're fighting for. And we're fighting for good public transportation for the people who rely on public transportation. And we think that they should cut the 30% right now, get rid of those low-performing routes, and fix the public transportation system. We don't need a train. We don't need all of this. I hope you agree with me. November 2014, you're going to be asked to vote either yes for Green Light Pinellas or no. And when you vote no, they will be forced to right this situation because they're at 0.7305. They got no choice. So if we say no and force them to do the correct thing, this is what we would like for you to consider. Now, on your sheet, I think you gave all these out, did you, Betsy? The girls, here, you want to help her a little bit so we can go quickly? We have kind of an outline of the presentation, so when you take this home tonight, you won't say, what the heck did she say? Because I know it's a lot of data, and believe me when I tell you that this is half of what I'd like to tell you, and I have a lot more, but I won't go through it and belabor the point. Here are the charts that were in the slideshow, 2 of the most important charts. So if you would need to go home and talk to your neighbors. The next thing I want to tell you is that we are having a meeting at Abundant Life Church on January 21st. We have formed a political committee in the county. We have formed a 501c3 and a political committee last week. And we're coming out swinging on this. And we want you all, hopefully, to come to this meeting on January 21st. We have got to come together on this because, folks, this is right at our door now. Everything that we're seeing nationally, only it's coming in the form of rail and it's coming in the form of a big tax increase. It's at our door. And if we don't come together and fight, we're going to have this county will be lost. We're losing it a little at a time, aren't we, or a lot? Let me just finish one time and then I'll take questions. So, Jan, you have an invitation, and please, please, please come to the January 21st. Please bring another person so that we have a big showing.